Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Monday Night Live DJ Chat Night. We are here at DJing TV doing some awesome things tonight with the one and only DJ Kilma. Good evening, Kilma.
Good evening. How are you?
I am great. It's great to have you back. It's great to see that you've thawed out from a winter up in the Great White North.
Yes. Oh, it's so much nicer out here.
Oh.
So much nicer.
Oh man, it's been like, it was like 50 something today and the kids were outside. They're like, can we take the clothes off? It's like, no.
Not quite yet. Yeah, on my way home from work today, all these people were on a patio. They were still in their winter jackets, but it's warm enough that they're like, yeah, patio weather.
Exactly. That's what we do up here. You know, if it gets above freezing, we're like, ooh, get the grill. We're going to go.
Let's do it.
So tonight, gang, we are going to talk about, this is something that a few of you have shared that you'd like us to kind of dig into a little bit. So we're going to be kind of using this as a reoccurring theme for the next few weeks here. And it's going to, not every show, but quite a bit, we're going to touch on this, is the idea of some tips to help get those phones to ring, how to drum up business, where to go looking for it. And Kilma comes from a unique perspective where she has, she does the EDM type, house type DJ work. And then you've also been working a little bit as a kind of consulting for some mobile DJs. Is that correct?
Yes, absolutely. I help all sorts of artists, including producers in many different genres, even more recently, a guy in hip hop. So, yeah.
Oh, sweet. So you get to, you've worked all aspects of the whole system with that.
Yeah.
Very cool. So we made a few notes, gang. We're going to kind of go through and give you guys the tips. We got about a half hour we're going to do, and then after that, we've got Jason Jani who's going to jump in, and he's going to talk about some branding things. So let's just jump into it. For those who, Kilma, now I don't know if you modified your list a little bit and such, but let's kind of start. What would be kind of a basic starting point for someone who wants to start, kind of the knocking on doors? How do they do that in this day and age?
Right. So my particular list is actually something that somebody might call you at the first attempt. Somebody might not call you until the last attempt. So the first thing I suggest doing is showing online support.
Now, what do you mean by online support? I saw that and I want to just kind of have you dig into that a little bit more of what that means.
Well, we live in a social media age, which means, a lot of these club owners and promoters are looking for more likes, follows, comments. So what I would do is seek out people that are within my realm of music, and I would follow and like their stuff. I would make sure that I'm making comments, actual comments, not just, this is nice, that's cool, asking questions, creating some engagement on their pages. It draws attention to you, the brand, when you go and you like someone on Twitter and Instagram and you're retweeting their stuff and you're asking them questions and you're showing interest in their business. So because it draws attention to your brand, then suddenly they're visiting your pages and they want to know more about you. So it's a really great way to create brand awareness by showing support. And a pro tip, make sure you have your latest mixtape right there linked in the bio, and a quick explanation of who you are, what you do, so that they can see, oh, this is a brand that's really invested in themselves and it's created a lot of content.
Now, one of the concerns I would have is that when you're going and you're liking, sharing, engaging, what have you, is I've seen DJs kind of go a little bit too far and they make it like it's all about them, it's all a commercial for them. What would you recommend for some tips or some ideas to not cross that line where you become more of a pain in their butt because you're treating it all about you and the world should be coming to me?
I really I love that question. There's a really fantastic book by Gary Vaynerchuk called Jab, 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 Right Hook. And it's all about give, and then ask a little. So that's why when I'm liking and following people's stuff, I'm engaging on their pages. I'm asking questions and showing interest in what they do, as opposed to saying, follow for follow, because nobody likes that. That's pure spam. So you're not asking them to follow your stuff. You're just showing support. You're not asking for anything.
Which would make sense. I think that's something that people like to have that connection. But again, once you see that follow for follow, I know on a Disc Jockey News, I ban more people with that statement.
Yeah, because you're like, is this a real person or is this a bot? If it's a bot, I don't want it. If it's a real person, this is not. I wouldn't want to hire somebody that says things like that on other people's pages.
Yeah, exactly. You may not be a bot, but I probably still don't want to engage you.
No.
Okay, so we show online support. Now, what are your feelings now when it comes to sharing the information? Say that there's a club that you want to get into, and they're putting on these different things, and you start sharing their content through your mechanism of social media. Is there a time to not do that, or a time to do that? I mean, or is that kind of crossing a line, or is it expected?
I think that if you're going to share something that another club is doing, I would want to do it authentically. So, for example, if I'm a house and techno DJ and I see a promoter throwing a house and techno show and it's of an act I really love and appreciate, I might share it on my page and say, you know, so and so is throwing this event. I'm super excited. This artist is really talented. I'm looking forward to it, and this is why. So it's more authentic sharing versus, hey, by the way, as I shared your event, like it looks more like you're taking an interest. Well, you are taking more of an interest in what they have to offer as a brand. So I think people, I know for me personally, if somebody's going to share one of my mixes and they say, I love this mix, I play it during my road trips or while I'm cleaning the house and it motivates me, that means much more to me than just somebody aimlessly sharing something on their wall.
Yeah, for sure. I think that's a great tip. That whole concept of sharing and saying something, you know, making the connection and such. Let's change just a hair bit now, and we're still stay with the social media because I think this is such a huge part of the world we are in today when it comes to this, and it's overlooked by a lot of DJs. Let's go to a smaller club, maybe some mobile DJ who's wanting to get into maybe a local nightclub or what have you, an area that seats 120 people and probably does a wedding because it's a venue. They are going to have a Facebook page, and they're going to have some things going on. Now, does it change when you're going from a smaller thing like that, a smaller venue, to a larger club that is, has DJs 4 nights a week? Would you see any difference with that?
That's where I would actually show physical support, which would be my second piece of advice. Because if you're going to their establishment, maybe it's on a night where they don't have a lot of people in there, or you can see they're kind of struggling to create engagement online. Physically going in there, getting yourself a drink, getting to know the staff. It's a way to show them like, hey, I'm not just going to like your stuff, but I actually am interested in what you guys are doing. And here's the physical support for it. And that creates a lot of attention to you, especially if you are having conversations with the bar staff. Like, what do you love about this place? What do you guys have going on the weekends? Introduce yourself to the owner. Give her a business card. It's a really fantastic way of physically seeing what they have to offer while showing support. And again, you're not asking for anything. You're just going in there and showing them that you take a genuine interest in what they're doing, which usually means people start taking an interest in you. Yeah.
So physically showing support. Now, this is an area which I've seen many DJs go in there, and I've heard some different theories on this. I'm going to physically go into this, say it's a bar, they have some food and such. They're kind of, let's envision like an Applebee's, but with a dance floor. So they go in there. I mean, is this something you'd recommend them going in there and becoming patrons where they're going to eat and drink there on a regular basis? Or is this something that they can show their support by just showing up and not dropping money on a full meal? What are your thoughts with that?
I think that if it's an establishment that you can see yourself frequently going, then yeah, you're going to want to spend a little bit of money. I mean, there have been situations personally where I've been really frustrated because there are certain little places that have the same DJs because for years they went there spending money on drinks. So, one day they decide they're going to become a DJ and they get a gig there 2 weeks later because, hey, they've been supporting us all this time. Right. So that can be a little frustrating. I would say spending a bit of money is a good idea. I say going there with friends is an even better idea because you're going out for dinner with your friends or your significant other anyways. At some point, why not try out this new establishment and then work the conversation in there where you're talking about what they offer on the weekends or just what they like about the business that they're working for. Great. So authentically, I would go for an authentic push.
Yeah, I think so. And I know in my particular case, there's a couple of bars and such that I do business with around here. And when Lori and I go out for dinner, those are the establishments we hit so we can have that relationship and such. Yes, he had pants on. We had the relationship built up and such. So that worked out very well. You mentioned your friends, bringing your friends in and having them there that night. Now, a lot of clubs really put a high emphasis on DJs who can bring in a crowd, whether it's your friends or your followers. Now, for those who, like myself, who may not experience that because we're, at the age where we don't have friends who are going to the clubs much anymore, how does that fit into the hiring practices with venues in this day and age?
That is a really great question. Yeah, for somebody like me, I have to build a brand. Like my brands, I have to build an audience. But for me, I want people that are coming out because they don't just love the music that I play, but they actually kind of like me. It's nice to create actual friendships and relationships. And we can't be friends with 200 people, but I mean, walking around the club and thanking them for coming and asking for their feedback. So coming to this establishment with your friends to sit down to have a meal and ask them what they think of the venue is really fantastic, because when you do talk to that owner, you can say, hey, I've brought a few of my friends here. They like the vibe and I really like it too. So then the owner's thinking, ooh, we're friends like them. Well, if they like them, they like the atmosphere, they're going to talk to more people. So, bringing friends out, having a following is definitely important. I mean, they're trying to build a following, right? And a lot of these really fantastic owners, like the one I'm working with, he's going around and talking to the people that are there. The staff are super friendly. It's, you want to work with people that are on the same line as you. So if you're looking for an authentic, organic following, then you want to work for an establishment that's also doing that themselves. So it turns into this teamwork, good vibe tribe. Not all brands are like that. Mine is, but I think it's a fantastic way to bring in people that actually care about what you're doing.
You mentioned staff, that we're coming in and engaging the staff and talking to them, as well as talking to managers or maybe owners. How important is it to have the staff on your side? And could that bite you in the butt at some point? Have you experienced that?
I think that for somebody like me, if people don't like the staff, if they don't like the venue, if they're not happy with things that are going on, they're going to tell me. So yeah, I think it's really important that you have lovely staff. And, if there's issues, obviously bring it up to the owner. Hopefully it's something that, maybe they're just having a bad day. But if patrons are not happy with the establishment, that will totally deter them from going. So yeah, I think those relationships are very important. And yes, it can bite you in the butt, but I think that people really appreciate you asking them about that and trying to find solutions. And so even if it is kind of out of your control, they appreciate you at least trying. And then maybe that's at the point where you decide as a club DJ, you'd like to move your night somewhere else.
Yeah, for sure. I think that's something that a lot of times we would overlook, because it's like, oh my gosh, it's a consistent paycheck, even though in the long run it could be doing more damage to what you're trying to do out there and what you're trying to establish. And
absolutely.
And sometimes we don't think of it that way.
Nope.
I've taken you down 3 different rabbit holes and not off your list. So, but I think I'm done with the physical. I got my questions. So.
Well, we got the first 2. We got the show online support. We got the show physical support. And this is kind of a great segue into the third one, follow-up. You've shared your support online. You've gone and supported their establishment. So why don't you go ahead and give them some great feedback and thank them, for their hospitality. It was lovely meeting you. Let me backtrack. So maybe sending them an email, and maybe that email just happens to have your press kit attached to it that they can just easily click on and learn all about you. Thank them for the hospitality. Tell them what you loved about the establishment, the food, the decor, the staff. And it's just a nice way for them to see, like, wow, this person actually cares about what I'm doing. And hopefully you do. I don't want you to pretend you care, but give them that follow-up, that feedback. And then I would go, if you still haven't gotten a phone call or interest in your brand, show up with a mixtape. Hey, I really enjoyed myself the other night. Just want to give you this. It's a mixtape. Put it, let's do it in the kitchen, in the lounge, whatever. Put it in your car. Let me know what you think. I just want you to kind of get a vibe. It's something physical that you can hand them. It's a gift. People love mixtapes. People freak out about mixtapes when I hand them out, even if they never play them. They're just so excited. They've got like the artwork and everything, and so that album artwork, something nice and professional. You've got your social handles on there, your website, your contact information. A professional club owner is going to look at this and be like, wow, this person invests in themselves. And I like that because I invest in myself and in my business. And then that would lead us to number 5.
Oh, you're going way too fast. Don't go so fast. Okay. You're going way too fast. I've got questions. I'm already stacking them up here. I want to bounce back to that email.
Yes.
You had the email and you're going to send out that would have a press kit. First off, just in the basics of the email, would you have a link and have that press kit uploaded to your website somewhere, or would you send that as an attachment in this day and age?
Okay, so there's a few different ways to do it. The way I have mine set up is when I send you an email, there's a picture. And if you click on that picture, it goes to my press kit. You can basically tell that it's a press kit. If you actually go on the don'tkillmavibe.com website, I literally just put out an article on EPKs and why more artists are using them, including mobile DJs.
Yes.
So if you click there, it's a perfect example of what a press kit might look like. So in my email, it's in a photo, really easy. They click it, it brings them to my website. If you're on a mobile phone, it will try to download to your phone, which is fine. That's perfect. You can download it once you go to the web page as well.
Yep.
And my particular press kit is a PDF file. So if you click on something, you can go and watch my last branding episode on Disc Jockey News and all of that jazz, all the press from my social handles. Really easy. They click on it, opens up another page, and they can check out my Instagram or my YouTube channel. It's perfect. Again, it's like the album artwork. A promoter looks at that and thinks, wow, they've really invested in their brand. They have all of this experience. One click away. It's super easy for them as opposed to sending them a bunch of links or something that you try to organize but looks kind of messy.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and it's up to them if they even want to click on it, right? It's just in the signature.
Yeah, and I think that's a great way to handle it, because in this day and age, especially with mobile devices, that large PDF attachments are going to take time, and you don't want that email to take too much time. And I think you made a great point there, Kilma, that as a mobile DJ, we aren't used to thinking of electronic press kits, but the future, that is what this new generation is going to be looking for. That one quick little cut sheet that has a few links and a little information and such, or maybe a 2 or 3 page. They're not looking for the full gamut of information, that folder that we used to hand out to our clients and such back in the day. Good stuff. Let's see. Okay. Mixtape, I think I'm good with that. So let's get to 5 now. Sorry.
Oh yeah, all good. Hopefully I'm not getting purple lipstick on me. So number 5 would be to actually set up a business meeting. If that phone's not ringing, take the initiative. Walk down there and talk to the business owner, or give them a call and set up a business meeting on a day where maybe they don't really have anything going on. Don't wait for them to call you. Take things into your own hands. And because you've already done your research and you've shown your support and they've had the opportunity to look over all of your stuff, you already know what they need. So for example, if you've been talking to the staff and the staff's like, oh yeah, it's lovely working here, but the weekends get kind of rowdy because we have, our hip hop nights on the Saturday and the Friday, and it just brings in a weird crowd. It's your opportunity to turn to the owner and say, so how are you liking the crowd that's coming in? And chances are he's going to mention it because the staff's already complaining about it. And you can say, here's the thing. I'm a house DJ and I bring in an older demographic, and they're pretty chill and they spend money because they're a little bit older. So you've already got this pitch for them. You're already able to say, like, this is how I can help you. Or maybe you're very good at marketing and you've got a lot of engagement in your pages. So you can just kind of flip it around and say, like, I love your establishment. I love what you guys got going on here. I'd love to be a part of making this, just that much great, or I'd love to be a part of that. And then pitch your idea. And a lot of the times, these owners are super stoked that you've gone out of your way to do the research. And I just think of it like if you're applying for a job, right? So you don't just email your resume, you call the establishment and you ask, hey, did you by chance fill that position yet?
Right.
And they're probably haven't. And then you can show up there like 10 minutes later with your resume because you've already planned that's what you're going to do. So they're going to remember you called. Then they're going to remember they saw you 10 minutes later. And then you call them 2 days later to ask, if you've started setting up interviews, and they're thinking, I'm going to go take a second look at her resume because she is very consistent and that's what kind of salesperson I want. So that's the way I look at this list. If they're not calling you on that, first initial support online, that's okay. Just follow the steps. And if you've got to take it in your own hands, that's fine too.
Yeah, very much so. You mentioned when you're having that the business meeting and you're talking with them and you ask the question about how their music and offering some ideas with that. Where is that line where offering ideas can become perceived as maybe a person trying to dictate to them how to run their business? How do you balance that out?
I would suggest ideas that might work versus saying you need me.
And I don't want could we kind of give an example of that? And I realize it's putting you on a spot. But so let's say that I've got that hip hop bar and the crowd on Saturday nights just driving me crazy, and I'm trying to figure out a way to deal with that. How would you suggest to me that maybe looking at a different music format would be a good idea without alienating? And again, I'm sorry I'm putting you on the spot, but you know what? That's what we do.
That's what happens in meetings, right?
Exactly.
I would first get them to say that to me, right? They're telling me about this stuff, and then I'd say, man, like, I totally know where you're coming from. I used to play a certain style of music that brought in a really young crowd, and it was really frustrating. So I would acknowledge what they're going through, and then, hey, what has worked for me, and why it was really great for me to rebrand was because we're maturing, we've got a little bit more money to spend, we want to go to a place that's more relaxing and laid back, but still sexy, and you can get your dance on and drink your fancy drinks and actually hear your friends talk. That's why I started playing this kind of music, and that's why I started branding myself this way. I wonder if that might be something that you're interested in. I wonder if that might be the direction your brand needs to go. Mm-hmm. And I would create it more as a question and suggest it. I wouldn't say you need me.
Yeah, the only way to fix this is to do this. You got it.
I've been in business meetings where people have done that, where you like, without me, like, your business going nowhere, and it's just like, okay, see you later.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, there's the door. Use it. Yeah. No, I like the way you started that. I like the way you started that with basically reaffirming what I've expressed. In essence, you've listened. You're now reaffirming that little thing and saying, yeah, boy, that sucks. I understand that. I mean, this is relationship 101, really, for spouse, life, kids, whatever. And it works in the business world too. Imagine that.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, especially for these small businesses, right? You can relate to that struggle. You want to help them. Like, so yeah, good conversations.
Yeah. Yep. Good idea. I was actually, I'm trying to make sure, I was trying to watch the chat too. I wanted to get back, since we have a little bit of time. Let's talk about the mixtape. Now, I actually, my very first mixtape was a true mixtape, and I actually made one of these, and that was my second to the last one. I made two. This would have been back in about 92, and it was truly a tape of mixing. And for this area at the time, because at the time you couldn't get CDRs and different things, so it was a mixing of some, in our case, some rock and roll songs, and creatively mixing them together to make a set, which most DJs didn't do at the time. For those out there who have no idea what today's mixtape could or should be, give us a little kind of an overview of what they are today and how they eventually turn out.
So my mixtape, I have one right there. So my mixtape has just really simple artwork on the front, it's me. Which again, people are like, oh, wow, she invests in photos of herself for promotional use. That's fantastic, because people they love to physically see the brand. They want to, you don't just hear like Coca-Cola, you see the bottle of Coke, right? So on the back of it, again, quite simple. It's got my social media handles, and well, it's probably backwards, which is fine. It's got my phone number on there, and it's also got the agency's phone number and my email. So they already, as soon as they look at this, they're going to see, okay, so she's on social, she's on pretty much all of them. And everything is quite easy to find too, which is something I recommend anybody that's doing social media stuff. Try to keep all of the social handles the same. All of mine are Kilma Music. And then I just put a mixtape in there. Now you can get CDRs that look like little records. Yeah. Which is so super fantastic. Whoops, and then I lost that. And so I just burn an audio CD, which I think is really important because a lot of people don't have MP3 capabilities for their cars or some of their CD players. So I just make everything in audio and then just tag everything in there. So your mixtape will have the title, your name, maybe your website's tagged in there. I go into iTunes and I actually have artwork for it too. So all the information's in there. If they only have this left and they pop it in, artwork's going to pop up on their iTunes or in their car.
Okay.
Yeah. So
now that's the physical version of a mixtape. Yeah. Now in this day and age, we have to have the digital version, which is kind of that electronic press kit. How would that differ? And then we'll wrap things up right after that.
Okay, cool. So there are lots of different websites that you can do to host your mixes. You can use SoundCloud, Mixcloud, hearthis.at. You can even do a live mix on YouTube or mixlive.tv, which is really fantastic. So they can see you physically doing your whole little DJ setup. And then, of course, everything on there, you can link all your social handles, your bio, your email address. Yeah, I would recommend that to upload it on a bunch of different music websites, just because some people don't like using SoundCloud. They'll only use Mixcloud and Stream. Some people want to download the mix and, hear this .at is perfect to upload as many as you want, download as many as you want. So, yeah.
One more question.
Yes.
Length of time on the mix. How long would that mix be? Jason, we're just about to, hang on a second. Jason, we're just about done, so you get to listen to Kilma's last question.
Okay, so as far as timeline,
the length of the mix, the actual music length. Yep. I
usually say 60 minutes. 1 hour. Just to kind of show the progression, right? So maybe if you're playing like a 5-hour slot at a lounge, then you might want to showcase your lounge music for the first 20 minutes. You're kind of building up that funkiness in the middle and maybe your party stuff right at the end. So it gives like a broad spectrum, but a nice ability to really go on a journey through that set. So an hour is usually a good amount of time to establish your sound.
Yeah. Very cool. Very cool. Jason, I just muted your mic too, so that way we could finish up here. So that way, because you were coming in pretty loud. Great stuff. I think we got our questions. We got our questions answered there. Kilma, if people would like to find out more information about you, where can they go to check you out? Which, of course, you've said already. But we're going to do one more at the very end.
Yes. So my social handles are Kilma Music, Kilma, or don'tkilmavibe.com, where everything is on there as well. So hit me up, tweet me, ask me your Ask Kilma questions, #Ask Kilma.
And if they had questions, I know a couple of people were asking again more about that electronic press kit. You have, I think you had an article or a video not too long ago talking about that.
I did. I've done a couple articles, but literally just uploaded an article today all on why artists are using press kits, and I've linked in there what's in a press kit, and I also have my videos on in more detail of what that looks like. But they can also see my press kit to get some examples of what that might look like, because some press kits are tailored for like mobile DJs. These are the things that I these are the services I provide,
Right.
whereas an electronic dance music DJ might be showcasing all of their accomplishments.
Yep, different things with each one. Cool. Kilma, thank you very much for being on with us tonight. We'll put those links in the description below so you guys can check that out. And again, you can get a hold of her with any of your questions. We're going to segue over here and get Jason back on. Once again, Kilma, thank you very much for being on tonight.
Bye.
Well, we're back, ladies and gentlemen, with the second segment tonight with the one and only Jason Jani. Jason, it's great to see you, man.
John? It's good to see you, man.
It is so fabulous to have you with me tonight. This is something that I've been looking forward to doing, pretty much throughout the winter time. But you've been so busy planning the whole mobile beat world that it's like trying to catch up with my wife chasing the children around the house. It's like a never-ending job for you this year, man. Oh, crazy.
It's been a pretty crazy winter for sure. Absolutely.
But you're going to take some needed time off, so I'm very happy to hear that for you. That's very nice.
Yeah, I'm pumped. Next week, get to relax a little bit, a little sun, a little warmth, and just turn my phone off for once.
Very cool. Well, before you do that, we are going to talk about a variety of different things. I sent a few questions over, but we started talking with Kilma in the first section about getting that phone to ring. And part of that is branding, which a few of our questions are really tying into branding. So we're going to take some of those questions out of order. But the idea of branding is something when we very first started DJing, I don't think that branding was that really something we thought about much?
I guess that answer really differs for everyone, right?
I mean, I'm thinking back to when we started. I don't know where the word branding didn't come into the lexicon until a long time later.
Yeah. I mean, you know what? You kind of did it subconsciously, right? Like you're aware of kind of your presence, but the world was very different. Some people have been started 5 years ago. Some people started last year. Some people started 15, 20, 30 years ago. 15 years ago, if you go all the way back to 2000, 2001, the world is very different. If you go beyond that, it's even way different, because the internet and the Facebooks and the Instagram and everything didn't exist then,
Yeah. And it's just one of those things that it's a different world. And as you said, we probably used by a different name. As we said, we try to set ourselves apart and such, but it's become such a critical part. And I follow you on different social media things, and it's really become a big part of everything you do is really to have that brand, not only of the company, but you also have your own personal brand out there. So can I talk a little bit about that, the differences between creating the branding of the company and branding yourself personally?
So I guess my recipe is a little bit different, and it could differ for everyone that's in the business. At SCE, we try to we brand the company and the umbrella, and we also brand the individual talent, the individual things that are talent specific options, I guess, offer to our clients, our couples, our brands, and the people that trust us with their events.
Mm-hmm. And then. Hang on a second. I'm getting to the chat board. So what are some of the biggest between that and your personal brand now? And again, I think in the last probably 2 years, I've really noticed a lot of things that you're doing to brand yourself. Maybe it's been longer than that. Maybe it's just I can't tell time. When you're branding your personal side of the brand, and that's what most DJs being single operators would probably follow that course a little bit more. What kind of things are you wanting to include to make that branding stand out?
Well, I think your brand encompasses a lot of different things. It's not just your logo or the image that you project as a person. I mean, if you're a single operator, your brand could be the type of service that you're providing, the way you dress, the way you talk to people, your style. That it all kind of wraps up, and then it translates over to things like your social media presence, what you're releasing for people to see. In our world, it could be the mix content that you're releasing or the remixes if you're a producer, right? Like you could do a lot of different things, all to work with and alongside your brand. right? So like for SCE, we have pretty fortunate to have a very talent-rich crew here. We have 8 full-time hosts that represent the SCE brand, but we have 8 individual brands that cater to different types of people that are looking for DJ services. So we have, the crazy high energy guy, we have the Latin guy, we have this, we have that, we have all different things that kind of like work together, and ideally as one in terms of options for people.
Interesting. So you've got the main company brand, and then you've got all the different little sub-segments that you are also working to brand those within the company. Interesting. I guess I've not heard that too often, where people are branding, in this case, staff as much as usually it's the owner that's branded, and then the company is branded with that. Let's jump into a couple of the questions, because I took you off on a different direction with that. So, but I want to. Let's talk about that team, since we kind of were going into that. If you're putting together an entertainment company, what are some things that you look for when you're building that team and getting together that group of people who can work well and be successful?
I think some of the key parts for me was talent. Talent is a huge part of what you try to attract, I guess, as a business owner. But the core kind of like foundation and principles, kind of the ideology, the goals, the hustle, all of that stuff goes in, is sometimes more important to me than some of the most, like, I guess, commonly looked for attributes of an entertainer. I like to build with SCE. I tried to build a family. I didn't just put together, powerhouse people. I tried to make sure the chemistry is right, because in my mind, that's the most important thing for longevity, right? Mm-hmm. If people are happy, people love what they're doing, good things are going to come from that. And I also like to bring in differences, right? I like to bring people that maybe have specialty areas, right? Someone that can speak Portuguese, someone that can speak this, someone can do this, someone can do that, because then you're attracting other universes together. So I like to have overlapping talent, but I also like to bring people together that offer different things to attract different types of people, right? Different types of clients, different types of events or parties or whatever. So
you're not really out there, and this is, say, we talk about, if I could only clone myself and have a bunch of DJs who do it like me, I'd be great. So you're not looking for people who are maybe that have the same skill set as yourself. You're really trying to diversify.
Yeah, I think you're a product of who you surround yourself with, right? So like if you bring people that are really strong in certain areas, it'll only complement the team as a whole. Yeah, I could say that I would want to make 10 of me, but that's not realistic, and it's also not possible, right? So like I want to try to bring different creativity to the table so that as a collective, my team is very strong. That's really where I like to the world that I like to play in,
Do you find yourself, when it comes to interviewing and hiring staff or bring people into your team, is this something that is a collective decision with a committee that you have together, or is this something that you're relying on your kind of gut instinct when it comes time to interview and hire?
I think it's a little bit of everything. We don't just bring people in like right away. I mean, there's a process that I like to follow with my team. I make sure that they're fully vested into kind of like their security and future with our company. It's not something that happens overnight. I mean, often it could take as much as a year and a half to integrate someone to our team. And to some that are probably watching this, they might say, well, why would I want to do that? But like for us, for me, that's been the most successful kind of like formula into building something that's sustainable. Some of the hosts that I have working with me at SCE have been around since the beginning. Like SCE is a company that I originally founded some time ago, but I kind of went a different path. I chased a lot of different dreams. And then in 2009, I kind of reestablished myself. And then from 2009 to today is really how long SCE's been like formally in existence. Some of our talent had joined on in 2009 and 2010. So they've been around for the whole ride. Obviously, before we get to a level of bringing someone in fully, they have to do their part. They have to do their do their share of kind of like making sure it's the right fit, right? We just can't bring someone in blindly. They got to have the right hustle. They got to have the right chemistry, and they got to blend with the team, right? Because we have a team full of guys and girls that work really, really hard and trying to push the creative bar in different directions.
Nice. Now, when you're bringing that team together and you have them kind of cohesive, what kind of a you mentioned family. What kind of things do you do to kind of build that sense of family with this group of people?
I mean, for our crew, we spend a lot of time together, in the office, outside of the office, at events. We have people helping each other out with different things and different events. Next week I'm headed on a little family vacation. One of my clients wanted to bring me down to Texas for an event that I actually can't do. So we're sending two of our hosts are going to go down there and smash the event. So like we do a lot of things where we're together, like I never travel when I do a lot of destination events. I travel around a lot. I never really go by myself. I always have someone with me to just kind of like help brainstorm, someone that you can talk to that understands kind of like where we come from, especially at a place like Mobile Beat. I had a team of 6 out there.
Yes.
There was a lot of us there. So, always try to surround yourself with good people. And, I think the family part, it's not something you can plan or design. It just kind of has to happen. And the chemistry is something that you just has to be there. It's like if someone's trustworthy or not, they either are or they're not, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's one or the other,
Yeah. At Mobile Beat, Matt, I think it was Matt Radicelli, talked about the whole idea of having kind of a structure to the management, we'll call it, of the company. Now, are you guys to the point where you have that kind of a hierarchy or have a management where you have people who are kind of working with other people? Or is this something that you really like to have the hands on at this point in time in the company development?
So we're kind of a hybrid of both. I mean, Matt has an incredible business model from Rock the House. I mean, he's someone that I definitely look up to in this industry. He's a very good friend of mine. He's someone I have a tremendous amount of respect for, and he'd be actually a great guest on your show in the future if you haven't had him on yet. But Matt's business and my business are a little bit different. I think the key difference is like between SE and a lot of entertainment companies is we're very talent focused and very talent specific. So like, we do have structure and hierarchy. I do have an office staff. I have a ton of resources around me to help kind of get the job done, right? Think of like last week when we were in Vegas. I was in Vegas for almost 8 days.
Yeah, I was going to say it was over a week.
I didn't even talk to my office one time actually, I texted them back and forth one time when they were like, hey, how are you doing? Is everything okay? Like,
are you alive out there?
And like, we closed like 14 deals when I was away. I mean, I have the right people, and half of my team was out with me, in Las Vegas. So we have I'm very fortunate to have selected the right people to to be involved with the business, people that I trust, people that I care for, and people that really do an awesome job. They definitely put the hustle in,
Yeah. That's very cool. That's something. I think I'd almost refer to that as kind of a proud papa moment when you can come back and they're like, yeah, everything's great. And we booked 14 shows. And you're like, yeah.
No, it was awesome. I know that, I'm kind of like watching the comments go by and stuff like this. And normally I don't get to do that, but today I actually can. I see people talking about single op and like, being a single op, there's a lot of thought process that goes into large company that can be applied to single operator or smaller company or whatever,
Yeah.
Hustle is still there. If you're a single operator, you might not be able to do as much, but you actually have to do more because you're responsible for the management of the business, the bookkeeping of the business, the expenses of the business, the purchasing of the business. You still have to coordinate everything, and I too was a single op for a very long time, so I definitely understand the hustle,
Yeah,
like
for sure. For sure. And there's just some things that don't go away in that hustle. And as the saying goes, only working half days, the first 12 hours of the day, it all kind of goes together. That it does. Okay. Let's see. I want to get to the Mobile Beat one towards the end, because then we can drift off and talk more about the behind the scenes, because we had a great conversation with Jeremy Breck last week. So I want to save that one so we can have that towards the end. We talked a little bit about the developing of the brand and such. Let's try. I wanted to have give 5 tips to DJs who are just starting out, and as you see, we've got some single system operators in there. So we'll try to kind of keep it in line with what they're looking for. So, did you have time to get us a few tips?
So 5 tips to building a brand?
We can we can build a brand, or to just DJ starting out if they're going to build a brand. I guess as I'm looking at my notes, I wasn't too specific. So,
yeah, I think like the biggest I think the most successful brands are dialed into like what reality is, right? And I feel like that's often like a disconnect. A lot of people that I see in the business, doesn't matter if they're a large company or whatever, a single op, doesn't matter where you sit in this universe, in this sandbox we all play in. But I feel that, you know, there's a lot of people that are not dialed into what is actually happening around them, right? So they have this great marketing kind of like look, but then again, when the events that are taking place might not fall in line with some of that stuff. So I think it's super important that the person, you know, starting out or whatever is acutely dialed into what is going on around them, the type of events they're doing, right? So you don't want to have this Tiesto look if you're doing communion parties, unless you're bringing that Tiesto look to those communion parties.
I
get
you. Know
you.
what I'm saying? So there's often a disconnect. So stay aware of like what you're doing and the world that you're actually playing in. And then if you would like to achieve something that is maybe different than what you're actually sitting in, make sure that you develop kind of like a strategic plan to kind of get yourself there, right? Like think 6 months out, think 12 months out, think 2 years out, and try to figure out a way that you can kind of maneuver yourself into where you'd like to be, right? Like I'm not thinking about where I am today. I'm thinking about where I want to be in 3 years from now. That's like what I focus on, and like with myself personally, you know. Other tips that I would give anyone creating a brand from a visual perspective, I don't care what it costs. You have to hire a graphic designer that's actually not yourself doing it on your own computer. Spend the time to surround yourself with professionals that do this for a living. I think that matters a lot. And I think the visual difference definitely, you know, can be seen between someone that does it themselves, whether they're aware of it or not, for someone that you know, hire someone. I use Lorenzo from Screaming Lunatic. I've worked with him for like 15 years. He's someone I trust. He's someone I know. He's helped a ton of people that I know in the business. People like Mike Walter, a very good friend of both of ours, you know, amongst hundreds of other DJs, you know, developing their brand, their business cards, their websites, their whatever. I think so. Surrounding yourself with professionals. So we have being aware of what's around you, surrounding yourself with professionals. The third thing I'd say is invest in a very good quality camera, video camera, photo camera, and make sure that you get imaging of every one of your events that you do. I think, you know, we're in a very image and content hungry world. Everyone wants to see what's in store. You know, at SCE we have, I think, somewhere in the area of 1,100 video blogs that we've done since 2009. I mean, we're continuing to pump them out, and our team, you know, has embraced that, and they've seen kind of what it's done for our company. So when you create great video blogs or you create content, you know, there are people out there looking for it. So, you know, I can't even tell you how many venues that I work in or have worked at that because I have a video blog up, they've actually booked weddings. Like people have gone on, they've stumbled across this video, which led them to another video, which turned them onto a venue that they didn't even knew was there or they never even thought of.
Right.
They went in and spent, you know, tons of money and, you know, and booked their property. So I think having the right equipment to capture and show off what you're doing is super important. You know, we heavily invest in that.
Let's talk about the now having equipment, of course, yay, rah, rah. But what are some recommendations for someone starting out? If that would be kind of a minimum recommendation. I mean, obviously there's brand differences, but if I was wanting to invest in that, where would you recommend I start?
I would, my candid recommendation, and I think I wrote this, and I don't even remember whose book it was quoted in, but like if I could go back in time, when I started doing video blogs, it was in 2009. I was doing an event with David Totero, who's like a celebrity wedding planner. He's on television, all that stuff. Yep. And I went to the store and I bought like a $600 Steadicam Canon or Sony, whatever. It was like one of those hand camcorders. And I literally was like walking with it and I was like talking like what I had going on. I showed the room and all that stuff. You know, like if I knew now what I knew then, if I knew then what I know now, I would have spent as much money as I possibly could have dumped into like whatever the best is I could have afforded. You know, I'm not one that blanket spend and invest in everything that you whatever, but like for the capture, if you have the ability to capture content and you have the ability to capture good content, there's a huge difference for what's going to come from that, right? So taking the time to do that and putting your money, as much money as you can at that, I think it's something that will long last and be one of the wisest investments that someone new to the game could do. So if that is that $500 hand camera, or that's a GoPro camera, that's a 360 camera, all good. If that's a digital SLR with L series lenses, even better, and then get the support tools. And then of course you have to find someone that knows how to operate it, or hire someone and train them how to operate it to what you're looking for, which is what we've done here at SCE.
Let's before we jump to the next one, let's talk about the importance of the edit.
Mm-hmm.
How important is that? I mean, if we capture quality footage, how important is it to have a really good quality edit job done of that quality footage? Or will the footage stand alone and do the job we need it to do?
I guess it depends. It depends on what you're trying to achieve, right? Like, so oftentimes I meet with couples and I just show them raw clips. I don't even show them anything that's edited. I just show them what the room was doing. I want them to hear me mix. I want to hear them talk. I want them to see the actual energy. Of course, a slick edit like we did at Mobile Beat, or like we do on some of our video blogs and some of our recaps, yeah, that goes a long way. But sometimes that can be a negative. People don't think it's authentic. So, to be candid with you, when I edit my own video blogs now, I spend 20 minutes. 20 minutes is all I do. And if it takes more than 20 minutes, I stop and I come back another day. I can't invest that much time in doing it. There was times where I used to spend 2-3 hours doing video blogs. Wow. So now I'm down to like, okay, I just want like little highlight clips of what the room looked like, maybe the services, the call out moments, maybe a couple different songs just so they can get an idea of the actual celebration. And the pictures speak volumes. People don't want to sit online watching 10-minute videos and 5-minute videos, or even 4-minute videos of someone else's wedding. They want to see a minute and a half, 2 minutes, maybe you do a testimonial. And I don't even do like the introductions anymore, where I actually talk about what's going on. Every once in a while I do, but very rarely now, because people just don't have the time for it.
Right.
At SCE, we're doing these Insta minis, and it's something that Jeff came up with. And then we've all kind of like put them out on the SCE Instagram. And for the people that are watching, if you get a chance, I'd love for you to follow myself and SCE on Instagram and Snapchat. But those 15-second little teasers, I mean, they're so powerful. We put one on YouTube. Like, the bride shared it. It's got like, within like less than an hour, it had like something like 1,600 views. And hits, just crazy, like the reach of what's going on right now.
Yeah, isn't it something? Okay, let's see. We were up to 4.
Should we do 4? Yeah. Okay. Yeah. 4. Yeah.
So what do we have? What's our next one?
I think if I could dial back to something
I'm sorry. Yeah.
That was said at actually I'll give you the 4th, and it's something that came from the Redfoo thing, and that's kind of like living your brand, right? Like, I think that's a big deal for people. Like, sometimes people want to put on this like smoke and mirrors kind of facade. They go out to the store, they look like a bum, whatever. I'm not saying you have to be dressed like Marcello everywhere you go, but like, my brand is kind of like what you see here. I meet with my couples in sweatshirts and t-shirts, and I have tattoos, and I wear sneakers, and that's like my brand. I mean, when I go to an event, I rarely wear a tie, and I could be doing a wedding that's $100 a plate or $500 a plate. I could be working with celebrity clients. It doesn't matter, because my brand falls in line with who I am as a person, right? If I walked around in a polo all day, like maybe I would have to have a suit tie on when I do my events. But right. I also make sure that when I go to the store, I'm kind of like in part, like, you got to live it every day. Redfoo recalled the story where him and Sky Blue were going out, and Sky Blue was dressed like a bum, and he was like in his party rock vibe, and they went out and people recognized him, but they didn't recognize his partner from LMFAO, Sky Blue, and I think living your brand is kind of a big deal. And that was something that totally hit home with me. And it's something that indirectly and subconsciously we all kind of do here at SC. I have guys that come in jackets and ties. I have guys that come in sneakers, and like it depends who they are. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure. And I was going to ask you about that, how it worked with your staff, and I think that they're going to find what's comfortable for them and the image that they want to portray as their brand, and yet the consistency that was something that I took from that interview you did with Redfoo also, is that he just lives that brand, because that is what he's doing and what he's out there doing. It would be interesting if he'd go on vacation.
Yeah. Right.
What he does. I mean, and maybe that's one of the reasons he lives that brand so much in public, is that when he steps away and he pulls his hair back and he puts on normal clothes, you'd never recognize him.
Yeah, it's funny. Like someone like him, he's got his like afro, he's got his crazy personality. If you follow them on Snapchat, I mean, they are all over the place. Like, and they bring that energy when they're on a plane going to wherever. They're all dressed, ready to go. Even if they're in their down clothes, they're dressed the part, and that's not just him. It's his crew that he surrounds himself with, and that's kind of like a big a big deal, you know. So that was a good one that I grabbed from it. Let me see. I don't know. Like, I guess the last one I would probably say is it might sound silly and it might sound 101 to a lot of people, but I think being aware of who you're around is super important. And what I mean by that is like, treat the people in the kitchen the same way you would treat the people that own the venue, right? The people that you come in contact with, smile, be polite, like be aware of what you're doing, because if someone hears you doing something that's maybe not right, or maybe like off color or political or whatever, you know, like there's some crazy stuff that can happen from that. You know, like I play a lot of nightlife venues in addition to like my private event space, and like there's places I go and like literally like the security like rolls out the red carpet because I talk to them like they're people, not just like they're there to control the crowd, right? You know, like I talk to the guy that does the stuff in the bathroom the same way I talk to the management, you know. And
Yep.
I mean, of course it's a little different, but like, you know, when you develop personal relationships with people, like it goes a long way. So I think being aware of who you're around and being polite to people and smiling. I don't think people smile enough right now. People are so hard, especially in our business. You know, there's so much to do. We're such in a rush. We're so here, we're so there. And maybe it's just a Northeast thing, but I think when you're polite and you're smiling, you interact with people, I think it goes a very, very long way, because that person tomorrow could be in a totally different role in a totally different venue that could totally help you in some way, shape, or form. And I'm not just saying it for the long term, kind of like what can you get out of this? I heard Kilma before talk about the jab, right hook. You know, it's not about that game. It's about just being like a decent human, right? Like,
Right.
And being aware of who's around you.
Yeah, I think that goes a long way, sowing seeds of goodwill everywhere you go, because when you start to treat people as you would not want to be treated, it's not a cool thing.
If you look at Mobile Beat, when John Taffer came on the stage, you know, he came out pretty level, right? And then like he had the crowd. As soon as he got like in it, you know, that's his brand on the show. He's yelling at people, he's screaming. I mean, like the whole room like locked into what he was saying, you know, and he's like, we're here to make more money, right? And everyone got into it, and it like totally took it to another level, right? So like, just talk about like branding and perception, and like, you know, just being aware of. In the green room before he came out, he was like the nicest dude, you know. He's soft spoken, he was cool, you know, like, and then, you know, it's just, you know, I think it's an important part of branding, you know, the social part of branding, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, good stuff. Good stuff. Well, we've got a little bit more time, Jason. I don't want to keep you too late tonight, but now let's kind of bridge over and let's talk a little bit about the Mobile Beat experience this year, and we'll talk a little bit about the behind the scenes. We've already talked a little bit about Redfoo. I want to go into that a little bit more now, specifically because you interviewed Redfoo up on the stage. Now, how did you prepare for that interview?
So it's kind of interesting because I had the opportunity of kind of connecting with him beforehand a little bit, and you know, I just kind of had a connection with him, like, you know, like just talking with him, it was like talking to someone I've actually known before. So, you know, I had prepared a number of questions, but if you notice, when I went out on the stage, I didn't have anything with me because I didn't think we needed to go there. I kind of had an idea of what I wanted him to talk about, and then I kind of knew that the conversation could squirrel off into different areas. So from an interviewer, I've never really done a Q&A with someone before. I've never hosted an interview. So say what's up to Jeff.
Hey, Jeff.
Get out of here. What's it called? So when I was kind of like, you know, vibing, I knew how I wanted to kind of start the conversation with him. And when I had the opportunity of connecting with him, it wasn't like I talked to him for 10 minutes. I talked to him for like an hour and a half, you know? So I got to kind of experience a little bit about him as a person. And, you know, to be candid with you, he's a very, very humble. He was a very humble dude. You know, he was very grounded. He's super talented. He comes from music royalty. His dad is Berry Gordy, you know, the founder of Motown Records. He kind of like discovered the Jackson 5, you know.
Yeah.
He's a very influential family, you know. His dad was married to Diana Ross at one time. He's got like a crazy history. And I just really wanted to understand how he got into the music scene. And then ideally, I wanted to share with him some piece of advice for people that basically say you can't do it, right? Like the kind of like the inspirational part of this. And we kind of squirreled off into some different areas, but I think it was very well received from people that were there. And he was really cool. And you know what? He lives his brand every day. I mean, what he said he was going to do, he definitely did right there. He later that night when he came out, I mean, they turned the place out. After the show ended, we actually went with him to a second show of the night, and they did it again. And it was a small, like a much more intimate crowd. They actually played with a live band, and, he surrounded himself with incredibly talented people. So, for what you saw is like the show, I mean, like they all go through it pretty hard, and they're literally touring. The next morning they were in Miami, and then they were in New York, and then they're back in Vegas, and then they're back in like Dubai or something. I have no idea,
Yeah. What a schedule.
He's on it right now. Yeah,
for sure. What was something that kind of surprised you a little bit about your connecting and conversation with Redfoo?
Candidly, I think a lot of people just look at me as like a DJ. They don't look at me as like a host or someone that can actually talk. So I think I received a lot of like very positive feedback from friends and people that I respected that were there. I think the things that like about having that was like a personal thing, but I think about like the interview with him. There were some things that stood out where he's like, corny doesn't or cheesy doesn't exist in my world. Like pay attention to your clients, and it's something that I kind of do here, but taking the time to understand who you're playing for and what they expect of you, and then like actually doing it. Don't being not being above anything. Like there's a way that you could play something that's maybe not something you personally enjoy, but make it dope. Make it yours, make it whatever. And I liked his story about how he kind of got involved and in the business, and of course how that all kind of matured for him. So I think that the major takeaway was not only just believing in yourself and hustling for it, but I think it was like really taking the time to understand who's aware. It's a principle that is like so 101, but I feel a lot of people lose sight of it. And then on top of it, he applies the same logic the things he learned or experienced when he was a younger kid going to bar mitzvah parties. That's what he applies to his logic, to his shows in some of the biggest nightlife venues in the world, and I think that's pretty powerful. There's a lot of people that have started off in the mobile world and have evolved into like superstardom. Right. And then there's a lot of people in the world that, kind of get stuck in that like I do the same thing all the time. I do the same thing and it's very good. But, like constantly looking to push the bar, constantly looking to be better, to be bigger, to do different things. And I'm not talking about growing a company or doing different things, just creatively pushing yourself into uncomfort sometimes makes, there's good things that can come from that.
And you can definitely tell that he does that because during that interview, that wasn't the interview with somebody who was burned out. That was an interview of someone who was, kind of like, just going through the motions. You could feel the passion coming from him when he was talking about all the different aspects of it. So it was, to a point, it was almost felt like he was fresh and young and alive in essence in the industry. And he's not 20. He's a little older.
If you look at it, like when he came out, he started to dance and kind of tear it up. At the end, we didn't plan that. I wanted to take the photo with him to kind of create some buzz for him, just as like I wanted him to basically post oh, thanks for Mobile Beat. I got like all this love and all that kind of stuff. And we played Lights Out, and like he did like the whole song and he was dancing, and we took that group selfie and there's people on the stage. I mean, it was energy. It was dope, and that wasn't something that was planned, so. Yeah,
that was good. I really enjoyed.
Definitely roll with it. Yeah,
definitely enjoyed that. I thought last year with Penn, that was a really good segment, and I enjoyed that. But I think I was pleasantly surprised that Redfoo, just in his demeanor, the way he connected with the crowd, his charisma, the way he just brought everyone in and just kind of put them in his pocket and said, "Come along, I've got the story. Come on with me," kind of a thing. It was really kind of a magical time. So you did a good job with that.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Good stuff.
Thank you.
Let's bridge back to the thing that a lot of people saw you do both last year and this year is the DJ side of it. Let's start with going into year 2 of this. You did it last year. You rocked the house. What kind of a process did you have to go through to come in this year and change it up again, or to try to meet or exceed last year?
To be candid with you, we put a lot of time and energy into the development of the show, and I kind of had an idea of what I wanted to do, going in there. But I didn't prepare for it like I did the year before. The year before, I had like sat and thought and kind of like carved through songs. I kind of knew what I was doing each day. This year, and something I learned last year is that if you go in with a set game plan, it's not going to happen. So, I'm very fortunate that I work a lot. I mean, like I do a number of events. I'm even through the winter months, like I am hustling. I'm out there. I'm doing different things because I play in some of the nightlife spots that I do. Like I'm very current with my music. I'm very dialed in. I do a lot of different things. So I didn't prepare maybe as much as I would have liked to, or what I normally would have done. But I also know, like, going into that situation, the audible is going to be called every day. So like I walked into a room and I kind of like whatever I was feeling that morning is the way that I actually went with the music, and that last day I'm like, we were thinking about like, what do we want to do? What do we want to do? And Jeff's like, you should do like a rock set. And I'm like, shit, I should do a rock set. No one would do a rock set. And I started off Thursday and I did like that whole morning was all like rock and different stuff. And I mean, there's some people that I just were like literally looking at me like, I don't even know what you're doing, but I know that song and that was pretty cool, So I got a lot of love from a lot of different people. I'm very, 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 very thankful for that, And same for the nightlife thing, the event with Redfoo. I didn't pre-stack a list. I kind of knew what Foo was going to do. I kind of had an idea of what Vic was going to do. And then like right before we opened the doors, I kind of went over a couple tracks and I just kind of played for what I felt that day, So it was an awesome experience. It's very interesting to play for that many peers. I often do a lot of other DJs and event owners and event company owners and people that are in the business and do their private events. But when you're in a room full of DJs,
it's a little different.
It's a little different.
Maybe it's a lot different.
I see. So I see the question about like music and stuff like that, and it's hard. I spend at least a half hour of every one of my days mining and digging for tracks because you can belong to every pool in existence, but it doesn't mean you're going to find the right stuff. And I don't even necessarily think it's about having the right tools. It's how you organize it, right? I can give anyone the same 10 tracks I'm going to play it, but my interpretation of those 10 tracks would be very different. There are some pools that I really like. There's a number of like blog sites that are out there that are very good. I don't use just one source. I think I belong to every pool that's probably out there, Yeah. If you go to like let's say a DJ City, for example, right? They have a ton of great stuff on there. It's updated every day. It's super content rich. Those guys are super dope. They're all over the world. But you can go on that site and you can go on there, 3 days and not find anything that you would actually use,
Yeah.
So I think, it's hard to answer. It's hard for me to say, like, where do you get your music from? Because I get it from everywhere, and I don't just stop. So I think the way to kind of like go about it would be really define the style that you play, and then kind of like there's some pools that are more heavy in certain styles or genres than others. So I think that's kind of like the way I would probably like guide someone. You know what I mean?
And I think I've heard that from other people is I don't think there's one service or one pool out there that works for everyone. There's some people who have, and I don't even think there's one that you can just exclusively use. Everyone who's out there performing. I mean, I have 3 different that I get content from on a regular basis. And talking to other guys who are doing some club work and doing some custom mixes and some redrum work, they're pulling from 6 or 7 different pools on a weekly basis.
Yeah, it's not uncommon. This is like, hold on, I'll show you real quick. This is like my money drive. This is like, that's my life right there. Almost lost it there. That's a hard drive in here. It's an 8 terabyte hard drive that's completely like loaded, with all different stuff that I've collected over the years, and like that music library is constantly evolving and growing. And it's not just me that does it here at SCE. I mean, we have a universe of people that are super talented and hunting for like their signature sound stuff, and we're always kind of on it. I spend a half hour every day. Yesterday was Easter. I was doing music for my half hour a day, like looking for whatever. I found one track, and that one track is gonna light up the nightlife event I'm doing on Saturday night after the wedding that I'm doing. So I can't wait to open with it. It's one track for a half hour. That's what I got.
But if it's the right track and you can use it in the right spot.
I wish I had it last week. I tell you that.
Well, now I'm curious about what the track is, but
I'll PM it to you.
okay. Cool. Somebody asked about which 360 cam do you have you used? Have you used one yourself? I saw quite a few of them there.
We're into them. We're trying to incorporate them a little bit more. I'm not entirely happy with all the quality. We posted one from the show for the opening, so you can see the whole opening, kind of like from the DJ booth perspective.
Yeah,
that was done with the Theta S. And that's Jeff's camera. I used the VC360. I'm actually waiting for the Nikon Key Mission camera to come out, and that's like within the next month it'll be out. That's going to be the camera that hopefully elevates the 360 cam game. You know what? 360 cams are really good, and they're really good in like natural light and like well lit areas. But like in our events, when it's darker, if it's nightlife, if it's a wedding, if you're not like somewhere with incredible like natural light, they get grainy and really they look good, and it's a cool experience. But I feel like that's the future, and it's still kind of like in its infancy stages.
Very much so. When digital cameras first came out, and it's like, oh wow, outside, look at this beautiful picture of the scenery, and then you bring it inside, and it's like, oh my gosh, what happened?
Yeah.
Somebody's asking for remix pools. If there was one that you could recommend that you've found a lot of quality remix, I think going that direction.
I think for like the private event world, DJ City's probably like the most broad, I guess that's out there. I think they do a great job. Those guys are pretty solid. They also release a lot of content. So if you're into like listening to other people's mixes, they release a mix every day on Mixcloud, and they're 20-minute quick mixes, but they constantly have content coming out, and they do a good job. I think it really depends on like what you're doing. There's a lot of people that play remixes, but they play horrible versions of okay songs. I think everyone in our industry should have like a promo only level service that gets you kind of like in the door with current radio friendly mixes in all different formats. I think that's number one. And if you get it beyond that, I would probably go into like I'd probably go into like the DJ City world, and you can get like all that rock stuff in there and all that,
even the country ones. He had asked about country remix. I have not seen country remixes. I mean, there's an occasional one here or there on some of the services, but I haven't seen a country remix since about the mid 90s is when there was a couple of them that were really hot with making it.
There's a bunch of people that still do them though.
Really?
I think Full Tilt has that on their service or whatever. Yeah. Okay. There's like a whole service on one of the more popular kind of like known services. Skills is the guy to look for. He's dope.
Interesting. I've not seen those, and those were what I would use when I was doing sound for like parades or doing if there were a kids' day out there with inflatables and you needed to do a fairground area.
I play a lot of like my own stuff. Like I saw someone, mentioned my Jackson 5 to Crisscross. That's like one of my edits that I kind of like crafted. So I took like 3 or 4 edits that I liked, and I kind of made like my own edit that I play from. I do a lot of that kind of stuff too. For a long time, I did a lot of like bootlegs and white labels until I couldn't really continue to do that anymore,
No, I hear you there. One question. This isn't not from the crew. We'll let them. If you guys have any other questions, please. We're going to wrap things up here in a few minutes. For some DJs, this was a conversation we had in Las Vegas. The amount of a song that you play. Some guys basically, I want to play the radio edit, and I'm going to play it from beginning to end. Some guys they don't do it that way. And what's your feeling on it when it comes to performing? And let's put it at a wedding, which a lot of guys that are watching do weddings. Do you at a wedding do a lot of mixing and taking bits and pieces of songs, or do you do more of the playthrough?
Nah, I mean, like the songs that I probably play all the way out would be like their first dance if I play the entire song, and the parent dances, and that's probably it. I mean, like people that hire me for their private events are looking for a certain style and a certain thing. Like I actively play dinner. Like I'm on it. I'm even take like the down tempo stuff and make it like revived. That's my brand. It's what I do. Right. Like I rarely play a song for a minute and a half. Unless you have everyone on the dance floor singing Journey. Of course, I'm not going to cut that down. You know what I'm saying? Like I think there's no one way to do it, and I think you have to be able to adapt to the room, right? Like if you're in the Northeast, it's all about content. You know, like I can go out and play, in a private event or a nightlife event and do, 40 to 60 songs in an hour, or more, and that's like not uncommon, but you're playing a song 30 seconds, 45 seconds, a minute and a half, and you're constantly moving, even at the event with Redfoo. I mean, I was in and out of those songs. Some of those songs were so quick that the longest song I probably played was that Jackson 5 mashup that I did, and that's because it's actually like 3 songs built into one, but it wasn't any more than 2 minutes, It's like, I like to play fast. That's just like my style,
Mm-hmm.
I also like to scratch, and I scratch at weddings. And there's a lot of people that say, oh, you don't need to do that. You don't need to do this. And I've done this, and beat mixing is not important. Fine. Everyone has their own way of dealing things. Everyone has their own way of doing things. Like for me, I couldn't do what I do if I didn't have those tools on my chest. I couldn't attract the type of clients that I have if I didn't have those tools on my chest.
Right.
I could still do weddings. It would be very different. The experience that I try to create, and you can go on the SCE website. You can Google me, look at my bio, look at my private, look at my own personal site, and just see the type of events that I do. And, I'm very lucky to have kind of like, brought the nightlife kind of like world to the private event space and done it and been successful, so far. Very, very lucky, very humble, very honored to do what I do every day,
Yeah. And that whole, the way you perform and your style and such brings us right back to the branding thing. It's part of your brand.
Yeah.
And there's a circle.
Nice circle. Perfect. Good.
Jason, if people want to get a hold of you, what's the best way for them to get in touch?
They can hit me up on Facebook. I really don't look at my messages too often on Facebook, to be honest with you. I have a ton in there still from like 2 weeks ago. The best way to kind of get a hold of me would be Instagram or Snapchat. That's where I spend all my time. I mean, I do look at Facebook and I do update things, but like Instagram and Snapchat is where I put all my time these days. So you could just do and my name, Jason Jani. And while you're at it, if you're following stuff, you could follow my company at seeventgroup.com. I'd appreciate the love, and I'll follow back and do all that stuff. Just keep the content creative, or I drop you, because I don't like when people just don't put content up there,
Yep. Oh, and somebody shared the hashtag Ask Jason Jani.
Yeah, so that was like a cool little promo that we did. I know that, John, you said if you can get to 3 months to keep it going, that's when we did like just about 50 episodes, and it just started getting challenging with questions because I wasn't getting enough content. And I would keep it going. And my media guys here, Pags, and those guys are asking me to continue it and keep it going. And they've been kind of like policing the YouTube channel and getting all the stuff. I would totally be down to continue it and to keep it moving. I just need to get like fresh content from people to kind of like help, because I don't want to put content out there just to put it. I want to have some kind of value,
For sure. So if you guys have got questions, you can, if you would like, you can put them down in the comment section down below this video, or you can go out to Twitter, hashtag Ask Jason Jani. That gets over to those guys, and they can put those into some kind of a sequence and get you ready for another recording session. Jason, I think that is about what we have for tonight. Awesome. Thank you, my friend. I appreciate you being on. And again, I enjoyed your work at Mobile Beat Las Vegas, not only as a DJ, and truthfully, you did a nice job with that, but really what stood out to me was, again, that time with Redfoo, the way you guys just had a nice interaction and worked back and forth and really just put on a very good presentation there. So,
yeah, I appreciate it, John. Thank you so much. And thank you for everyone that tuned in and checked this out. I appreciate it. Yeah. So if we're not connected, join up with me. I'd love to connect with you on social media stuff. And John, anytime you need anything, I'm always here for you, man. Thank you so much.
Sounds great. It's very good. Thank you guys for watching. If you have any questions, again, put those in the comments down below, not on the right side, because those get lost and we will not see those. So wait a few minutes and put them down below. But this is our Monday Night Live chat. Once again, thank you for watching. Good night, everyone.